everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Amanda N, and I've been obsessed with Grim Reapers for a while now. The classic black cloak scythe. I probably watched way too much Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy as a kid, but oh well. I've kind of wondered how the Grim Reaper became who he is today for forever, so let's find out. Now, Thanatos, I apologize in advance for any mispronunciation, but Thanatos in Greek mythology is considered the counterpart of life. I kind of just remember him from that Hades video game that came out a little while ago, not gonna lie. But he's the Greek god of death and was depicted as a winged, bearded older man, or on very rare occasions, a beardless youth. Some sources say that he was merciless and indiscriminate, therefore both mortals and gods alike really hated him. Others say that he was actually the god of nonviolent deaths, and his touch was gentle compared to Hypnos, the god of sleep. Apparently they're brothers, so, that's why Hypnos and Thanatos kind of go together. But from what I do understand about Greek myths, death wasn't necessarily this horrific and terrifying thing in the way that I guess a lot of the Western world might see it nowadays. It was considered more, I guess, a ride on the river Styx, a part of life, you might say. So seeing Thanatos as perhaps a more gentle figure doesn't seem too far out of left field anyway. Now, while Thanatos isn't necessarily the oldest depiction of the Grim Reaper, he's definitely one of the oldest and known ones. Now, though he has a black robe and scythe in the Hades game series, that's not exactly what Thanatos has looked like on old images. So while a god of death or deathbringer or whatever word you want to use has been around for a while, what about the Grim Reaper? Where did that black cloak and hood come from? Well, as it turns out, Britannica claims it started to appear around the time of all things, the Black Death, the plague. An estimated 1/3 of people died, so clearly Europe had death on the mind. Skeletons, well, there's an obvious answer why those were used, since they represent what humans would look like after, we've passed and decomposed. The robe was supposed to be reminiscent of robes that religious figures wore at the time during funeral services, although a massive, big black robe does just kinda seem fitting. As for the scythe, they were used to reap or harvest crops when they were ready to be plucked from the earth. A reaper would use a scythe to, in essence, pluck humans from the earth too. Now, while Thanatos was the counterpart of life, that doesn't necessarily mean that there haven't been other depictions like this, even if the Reaper of the Plague times seems to be the one that we know today. There was another entity in Greek mythology known as Kronos, or Father Time, who was said to be the father of Zeus himself. Kronos did carry a sickle too, and one of my sources says that the Grim Reaper is a combination of Cronus and Kronos. I'm basically trying to make those sound different. They actually sound very, very similar. Kronos. There's one has an H and one doesn't. Sorry for the confusion, but Cronus, without the H, was the god of harvest, taken from the name Charon, which means crow. No wonder crows are considered a bad omen, right? Then Cronus, with an H, means the Father Time reference. So we know vaguely where our black-robed friend comes from, but what about other cultures? Is the Grim Reaper seen this way everywhere? Well, the idea of a black skeleton is pretty similar and fairly universal, though there's subtle differences. Apparently in Breton folklore, there was an Anku, which was said to be the last person that died in the community, and they appeared as a tall, haggard figure with a wide hat and long white hair, and sometimes with a skeleton body. In Ireland, they had the Dullahan, which looked like a cross between the Headless Horseman and a Grim Reaper. No one is safe once the Dullahan comes for them, though it's said that they actually had a fear of gold objects and jewelry, and any amount of gold might be able to drive them off, though only briefly. I'm not sure why this is, but it's likely because gold is considered a pure and perfect metal, whereas death would be, I guess, anything but pure. But what about other cultures even further away? Well, if you've seen Death Note, you might recognize the name of this one, the Shinigami. The Grim Reaper in Japanese folklore looks, yet again, pretty similar to how we see Grim Reapers today. They also started to enter Japanese folklore around the 18th or 19th century, at which point Grim Reapers already existed in many other parts of the world, though the Japanese adapted and changed them. According to ancient origins, this was a time when Christian beliefs, West beliefs, mixed with traditional Shinto, Buddhist, and Taoist ones. This not only led to the Shinigami, but a demon called Mirutu-Mara in Buddhism as well. There are a ton of other ways that countries envision death, but I figured I'd talk about our classic Grim Reaper for today. If you want to hear more, let me know. The Indian god of death is really interesting, and there's quite a few other places, obviously, that I haven't even touched upon. So maybe I'll make a part 2. But thank you all so much for coming and for being a little bit patient. Videos might be just a little bit scattered for a little while. Work has been pretty hectic is what I'll say, but things are starting to wind down, so we'll see where it goes. But thank you so much. I hope you're all well, and let me know if you want to see a part 2. Bye!